Welcome back to LePodcast. This is episode 74, and you're here with your host, Sainey, alongside my brother, Hoopology. Unfortunately, you didn't hear ZZ Huncho's name, and you won't be hearing ZZ Huncho's name for the time being and for the future of LePodcast. And a decision was made, and ultimately we'll be moving forward without Z. We want to stress to the viewers that there's no ill feelings on either side, but this was a decision that was made for the podcast, and we want to make sure that we keep delivering a great show for you guys, and ultimately, all good things come to an end, and we had to take a direction that obviously we did not want to take as a group, but you gotta be able to deal with the cards that God deals you sometimes, right? So from now on, it'll be me and Hoop, but we want to stress that we are very excited for the direction that the podcast is going in. The show, we believe, is going to get even better because of the things that we have lined up for it. We don't want you guys thinking that the show is going to fall off. We have a lot of exciting things to come, a lot of exciting guest appearances booked, and it's a sad day, obviously, for the crew, but we got some big things to look forward to. So we can just jump right into the show.
Yeah.
With that aside, why don't we jump into the show and we get things started?
Boston, Miami, Game 2, in TD Garden. The dogs are out. Grant Williams starts barking to Jimmy Butler. A chihuahua to a pit bull. It was a crime scene in TD Garden, and the Heat are up 2-0.
Caution tape everywhere.
Is Grant Williams the reason they lost the game?
Do I think Grant Williams created some sort of spark within Jimmy Butler? Of course. That's what happens when you compete against a guy like Jimmy Butler. You get in his face. I mean, you're going to spark something, right? Do I think he's to blame? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There were a lot of factors that went into the Celtics loss. Obviously, Miami turned up in the fourth. I think they came back from being down 9 at one point. Correct me if I'm wrong.
There was a bunch of long runs. It was like a 9-0 run, some 18-2 run. They kept swapping back and forth.
I think ultimately when it comes down to it, the issues, and I'll say the main issues, I don't want to pin all the blame on these two, but we got to look at Mazzulla and we got to look at Tatum.
Hold up, because Jaylen Brown needs to be in that mix. That man was invisible in the fourth quarter.
You know what?
And he was poor the entire series so far.
You know what? You know what's funny? I 100% back that point because he was so invisible, I forgot about Jaylen Brown. I actually forgot about Jaylen Brown in this series.
Because I was thinking about how Tatum didn't show up in the fourth quarter because he did the first three. Jaylen Brown just was absent.
Fair enough. You know what? That is a great point. I didn't even think about Jaylen Brown. That's the funny part. I'm sitting here prepping my notes, and my two things are Mazzulla and Tatum. You know what? 3 things. Brown needs to be put in that mix because we treated him like a superstar. He's second All-NBA, third All-NBA, whatever he is, and he's disappearing like that. You 100% correct. Brown is thrown in that mix. But let me get started on some of the points I wanted to bring up. Number 1, Jason Tatum. I have no issues with players gassing themselves up to the media. I have no issue with Jason Tatum calling himself humbly one of the best basketball players in the world. Absolutely not. The guy just dropped 51 in Game 7 against the Sixers after having a terrible game in Game 6 with the Sixers, if you don't include the fourth quarter, right? But speaking of fourth quarters, what the hell has Jason Tatum done this series when it comes down to the final minutes? 0 points in both fourth quarters, and it combined 5 turnovers. In Game 1, that man was already getting prepared to travel to Cancun. I don't know what was going on. What was it, like 2 travel calls within 2 minutes in Game 1? In the fourth?
That was bad.
It was bad. It was very bad. And then you're also out here not dropping buckets? You're out here dropping 51 on the Sixers. You can't drop 1 bucket in the fourth against the Heat? Now, granted, the Heat are a great defensive team, but Jason Tatum, you are calling yourself one of the best basketball players in the world. You are holding yourself to a superstar level. And this is why I will once again say that Jason Tatum is the most inconsistent superstar in the league right now.
I was going to bring that up because you know what's crazy about his inconsistencies is he'll be inconsistent game to game, where he'll put on a record-breaking Game 7 masterclass and he'll shoot 0 for 10 in the first half of a playoff game. But even he has inconsistencies within games. You saw he turned up in the fourth quarter. It looked like a superstar when he dropped out the first half. He disappears in the fourth quarter after playing 3 first great quarters.
Yep. And it was the opposite with the Sixers series. Played terrible in the first 3, turns up in the fourth. And join the Discord if you haven't already. Discord.gg/LePodcast.
Nice plug.
To the diehard Discord fans, you'll see why I plugged it. How many times, Hoop, have I said that this Jason Tatum point in the chat, and how many times have I been flamed for it? For the listeners who don't know, how many times have I been flamed for saying this? Many times. You can't even count, right?
For saying he's inconsistent.
For Jason Tatum is the most inconsistent superstar, and I would take Kevin Durant over him.
I've been a main proponent for this too. Unfortunately, there's no defender on here.
But here's the thing. The point gets being proven time and time again. The point has never not been disproven yet. And it's like, I believe in Jason Tatum. I love Jason Tatum. I think when Jason Tatum is on his game, he's one of the best basketball players to watch. That mid-range game is lethal. And circling back to Joe Mazzulla, and a point that you brought up a few episodes that I started to take note of, and I'm starting to realize, Joe Mazzulla is getting circles coached around him. Like Spoelstra is coaching circles around Mazzulla. Mazzulla has no idea what he's doing right now. And granted, he's like 34. Al Horford is older than the head coach. I don't know if people know that. Al Horford is older than the Celtics head coach, which should never be a thing, by the way. But Mazzulla has no idea what he's doing right now, and it's showing clear. And I know some of the Celtics players came out and kind of defended him and said Mazzulla's not the one that's supposed to be hitting these shots, but Mazzulla's the one who's supposed to be drawing up plays to get these shots off. And I'm not seeing anything done. I'm not.
In his defense, because I've been a huge Mazzulla slanderer, Al Horford has been off, and I don't like slandering Al Horford, because he is just a rock of consistency usually, and just someone you can rely upon. So it's just an off couple of weeks for him.
But make an adjustment. It's the playoffs. You don't get to. You don't have the time. This isn't the regular season.
Here's what I'll say. There's adjustments, as in you could play Grant Williams more, which, to be fair, he played a good game before angering Jimmy. And back to going back to that point.
Right.
I don't think it was his fault that they lost. There's Jaylen Brown could have done something.
Yeah,
Marcus
right.
Smart also had an awful turnover. We just coughed up the ball in like a crucial possession, which I believe led to like a Duncan Robinson 3. But going back to Mazzulla, the Heat are playing incredible defense on the 3-point line right now. And when you get those open looks with Horford and they don't fall, you're not really getting that 3-point production. Now, only if they had one of the best mid-range shooters, or one of the most unguardable mid-range shooters in the league in Jason Tatum. Oh, wait, they have him. Why isn't he doing anything in the mid-range? There's no draw plays to get him a post touch. They started initiating like that high pick and roll with Rob Williams, where they kind of space the court, because Tatum is great with a head of steam. When he's going hard to the rack, it's really hard to not foul him or let up a layup.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that leads to an open man in the corner, which, sometimes they're not hitting, or Rob Williams, cut to the basket. So that was great, but there's just no mid-game adjustments that I'm seeing to kind of counter what Spoelstra's doing. And I'm not saying you're going to outcoach Spoelstra, but you at least have to try something instead of just slamming your clipboard.
No, but here's the thing. You don't need to outcoach the Heat, because you have a better team talent-wise than the Heat,
they're more talented, right? Exactly.
They're more talented. And I'd like to stress it again. I don't want to make it seem like I don't know what I'm talking about when I just randomly throw Mazzulla under the bus. So I'm going to say this, and the point being why I'm throwing Mazzulla right now on not making any adjustments, because again, it's playoff time. Having a 2-0 lead against you is bad. What's the record for teams? There's like only 6 teams have come back, and 2 of them were LeBron James, right?
And I don't know how many of those had to go on the road after the 0-2.
Yeah, and as a 1 seed or a
going
second,
down to
a
South
2 seed,
Beach,
a 2 seed playing an 8 seed on top of everything, right? But here's why I say this, Hoop. Remember, what was Mazzulla's one thing that he stressed with the Celtics? 3-point shooting. He wants to see the ball shot.
50 a night.
He wants 50 a night. He stresses to his guys to keep chucking the rock, right? But they're not shooting great on the perimeter, and the Heat are playing great perimeter defense, and Mazzulla's sticking with it. Jason Tatum was 10 for 20, and like you said, he's a mid-range demon, right? But he's 3 for 10 from 3, right? And the Celtics shot 28% from 3 that game, and they shot 35 threes. Why are they shooting 35 threes if they're not making them? I'll tell you right now, the only person that shot over 50% from 3 was Derek White. Everybody else The highest percentage I'm throwing right now is Marcus Smart or Grant Williams 1 for 2, but he only shot 2 of them. Everybody else is shooting horrendous from the 3-point line. Why is Missoula not adjusting to that, right? And that's something I want to think of, where it's like, why not play in the mid-range more with Tatum? Why not? Why is Jaylen Brown shooting 1 for 7 from 3? Why are we allowing this guy to keep chucking these shots off? She's shooting 7 for 23. And I understand it's Jaylen Brown, so give him the green light. But at the same time, you're in a situation where you did just go down 0-2. And you were only down 0-1. Like, you got to make some sort of adjustment to avoid that. You just lost home court advantage as a 2nd seed to an 8th seed. That is embarrassing. And we need to stress that. And I'm sorry, Celtics fans. I'm a big fan of Jaylen Brown. I'm a big fan of Jason Tatum. To be honest, looking at this Celtics roster, like, there are some likable players. I have no hate towards any of these players. But it's the reality in that Joe Mazzulla, you can clearly tell it's his first year coaching. Because when you have this much talent and you don't know what to do against guys like Kevin Love and Duncan Robinson, that's a conversation to be had.
Yeah, first possession of the game, Marcus Smart got himself down low and did like a little post hook. I don't know which defender, but it was a weaker defender. I thought they were just going to attack because there's a reason why the Cavs let go of Kevin Love. Don't get me wrong, it was probably the wrong decision, and Kevin Love is a hooper. But he can't play defense. Duncan Robinson was on the bench the whole season for a reason. The dude cannot play defense.
So that was a bar.
So the fact
that was a bar.
I'm trying
that
to get
was
him over
a bar.
from
No, we gotta run that back. That was a bar.
But it's the fact that they're not like looking to exploit these mismatches when they have so much dynamic talent. Derek White is a dog. Malcolm Brogdon is a dog. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are all NBA caliber players. But for whatever reason, it's just that Houston Rockets go-to where, what was it, 27 missed straight threes, and they didn't make a change?
And they didn't make a change.
Hey,
and look where
PJ will make one of these, man.
Yeah, PJ Tucker's going to make one of these. Hey, Daniel House Jr. finna make one of these.
Oh, my gosh.
No, but, and I also want to ask you this, Hoop. No disrespect to this player whatsoever. Big ups to this guy. He's having a great postseason. He's going to get a big bag whenever he's a free agent again because of this postseason. But would you agree that going into this playoff, you would think that the Celtics were like a S-tier defensive team, right?
Yes.
Why is Caleb Martin going 11 for 16? Caleb Martin, 11 for 16.
That
and
dude
no hate
is
to
a
Caleb Martin.
Dog.
Caleb Martin is amazing. He's a dog. I love his play. I love it. Right? But Celtics need to take a good look at themselves and think a guy like Caleb Martin is giving them problems. They have no chance in the series if they keep that up. If they can't contain a guy like Caleb Martin, how the hell are they going to contain Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo? Well, that's my perspective of it.
Does he line up with Al? Because I think
he's a forward. He comes in at forward.
But I'm wondering because, like, obviously,
like Kevin Love starts, but he takes Kevin Love's spot on the court.
Yeah, and Grant Williams has not been getting the run just in this postseason in general. As like you figure Udoka would have played him, or like how much he played last year.
Yeah.
When he had that epic game against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
When you have someone that capable and that willing to compete, like that's the one thing I liked about Grant Williams. They're going to pay. Yeah. I was laughing at him at the time because he was just had a blank stare in his face when Jimmy Butler torched him. But like that's the kind of competition you need.
I love it
to feed off of. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Like, and that's and another thing, Hoop. And please, I don't know why. So if
Jimmy
you know
was going
why,
to turn up with 2 minutes left. It's not
either
that
way. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not his
turning
fault,
up anyway.
I need you to tell me why, Hoop. Like, please tell me why because I don't know why. Why is Robert Williams playing less than half the game? Robert Williams, to me, when he's on the court, the Celtics are a different team. They have a lot more confidence when it comes to their defense, especially in the paint, right? Robert Williams, in 23 minutes, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 5 for 5 from the field. +7, plus or minus with a +7. He's the only starter outside of Jason Tatum with a positive +- and he had the highest +-.
And that pick and roll was doing work with the two of them. Tatum needs the ball in his hands, and if he's getting doubled, it needs to be Jaylen Brown. There's no way you're going to. This is not a Knicks situation where Julius Randle is like consistently disappearing in the playoffs. Jaylen Brown had a great run last year. If he's playing all NBA level basketball, you got to stick with him.
To be fair, though, like Jaylen Brown's coming off a few injuries, right? He's coming out. He's playing. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out he never fully recovered.
He should just be a little more than a corner shooter.
But I agree. He should be playing better. But why is Robert Williams playing 23 minutes? Right?
Ask Mazzulla. But maybe we need to move on
because we should probably move on. But I just want to double down again and say to all the Discord people, I love you all. but I was right about Jason Tatum.
I was as well at this one.
No, here's the thing. You don't get to boast about it because you, for some reason, all the hate didn't go to do it towards you. I was put on the...
Because you're the loud one.
I was stoned for it. They were making edits of me.
Speaking of Jason Tatum, we want to kind of get into this fourth quarter. I don't know. We say it a lot, but guys who are dogs, right? Are we gonna?
I'll say it every day.
Jason Tatum, I feel like even has inconsistent dog tendencies because that one fourth quarter, when after the game he's like, I'm humbly one of the best players on the planet. That was an epic game. That was a Russell Westbrook type make good out of a bad situation type game, and that was like maybe if he's going to play like this, he could hoist that trophy at the end. But where does that go? Jimmy's got it all the time.
Here's the thing with Jason Tatum, and so we're comparing Tatum and Butler right now, right? Like the dogs.
Yes, because I want to get into obviously with the Knicks, you see it with Randall and Brunson. I feel like you want to have a star player decide your game, whether you win or lose. And that's not necessarily passing out of a game winner because we get on LeBron. People get on LeBron for that all the time. There's a difference between making a play and not being involved. You know what I mean?
To me, and one thing I noticed with the Celtics, and this is probably one of the worst traits you can have when it comes to the playoffs in any sport, is that I always hear the saying that the Celtics play to their competition, play to the level of their competition, which I do agree with, but I'm not going to repeat here because I'm not going to just run in circles on points that you've already heard. But I also notice it seems like there's a lack of urgency and determination with them. They don't have this fear factor from game one. They go in, I think, with too much swagger, too much confidence, to the point where they're chilled out and relaxed, right? And then it comes to the point where it's well, what do we do now? Shoot. First of all, why did the Atlanta Hawks take you to 6? Second, why were the Sixers winning without Embiid, right? You should not have taken that Sixers team to 7 games. Let's be honest. The Celtics should have won in 5, in my opinion. They should have won in 5 in both series. I can understand a game being taken away from each side, right? But the Celtics, they lack a sense of urgency until it's the last second and they can pull through. They were able to do it with the Sixers because the Sixers are a hot mess. They were able to do it with the Hawks because DeJounte Murray gets suspended and it's the freaking Hawks, bro, right? But the Heat to me are a different team. The Heat to me always have that sense of urgency. Jimmy Butler is always going to go out there and play his heart out. Bam Adebayo is I'll say it right now, the perfect second option. The perfect second option on any squad. I would love to have Bam Adebayo be my second guy.
An aggressive Bam, yes, but he also has consistency issues.
But right now he's consistent. Right now he's been consistently a dog. So I'm gonna hold him to it. I'm not gonna assume he's gonna fall off because I know that Miami Heat team. I know that Miami Heat culture. They're not gonna let him fall off. They're not gonna let him. He might have a bad game, but that determination is gonna be there. He fights for every rebound. That guy is scrappy in the paint. I love Bam right now. I'm loving Bam. The Celtics do not possess that. They don't. They do not. Game 1, Marcus Smart acts like he's prime Chris Paul. The Celtics are feeling themselves. What happens? No sense of urgency. It feels like they all just they thought they won the game by the second quarter, right? Marcus Smart's out here dropping these beautiful dimes, and I'm okay, Marcus Smart, okay, this is fire. We're going to see a fire game. What happened after?
And I thought, when you have a decoy on your roster, and I'm not saying it was deserved. I think a lot of Celtics fans would even say that Drew Holiday is the better perimeter defender. I thought you were supposed to have the qualities that Kyle Lowry has. I don't see that same scrap in Marcus Smart, and maybe he used to have it because I know he's definitely one to dive after loose balls. But in a playoff series, you're supposed to be the one helping out Grant Williams.
Yeah,
mess around with
he's the voice of that team, is he not?
Yeah,
he's the leader of that team.
I'm not hearing the voice right now,
and I'm not hearing it either. And to your point, Hoop, of he might have not deserved it. At the end of the day, he was in the decoy conversation. If you're in the conversation,
absolutely,
you should be like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, call me out for it. I don't care. Kyle Lowry has been more beneficial than Marcus Smart has in the series. I'll say that right now. I'll be the first to say it. Kyle Lowry has brought more to the table than Marcus Smart has. We should not be saying that. We should not be saying that. And big ups to Kyle Lowry. No hate to Kyle Lowry. He's been having a terrible season. Terrible season. Let's be honest. Regular season, he wasn't great. Bench for Gabe Vincent. And you know what he does? He embraces his role. And that is what makes a championship player That's what makes a championship team. Guys who let go of their egos and embrace their roles. And I feel like that's what the Heat do really well, and that's why ultimately I have the Heat winning in 6, not 7. I don't think it goes to 7. I think the Heat take a 3-1 lead, and then I think the Celtics bounce back Game 5, but it's ultimately a Heat game in Game 6.
Yeah, last thing I'll say, then we'll head over to the West Coast. I don't expect the Celtics to go out without another one of those, like, 3-point rainouts, where it was a Game 2 against Philly, where it was just a massacre. I feel like they have to drop at some point. I mean, Tatum has a ton of playoff experience. So I think if anyone of those younger players has the capabilities of getting back a little bit, I don't know if they'll tie it 2-2, but there's no shot they get swept at all.
Has he ever been bounced in the first round?
Tatum? Well,
yeah.
Rookie year, he had Kyrie.
He went to the conference finals rookie year.
I don't know. He's got a lot of playoff experience.
That's a good question, but like you said, like Tatum has great playoff experience. Like the Celtics make
and
runs
Brown,
every year.
And Smart, all of them.
And yeah. So I don't think they're going to get swept either. I don't see a sweep happening.
Hey, I'm praying for a good series.
Speaking of sweeps,
I'm trying to watch some basketball, man.
We can segue into the next point here. Just some reference to the viewers. We're recording this like 3 hours before Game 3 of the Celtics Heat game, or Celtics Heat series. So for all we know, it could go down 3-0, right? Like right now it's 2-0 for us. We don't know because it's going to be released after the game. But we're going to make an early prediction and say that they're not going to get swept. But if it's 3-0, that's a different story because at that point you just ripped away all kind of hope. But if we want to segue into another series, that's 3-0 right now.
Of course. I do have Boston winning. I think it'll be 2-1 Miami. But going over to LA, the Denver Nuggets are practically in the finals. I don't think there's any hope. I know LeBron in the press conference was like, that'd be great. That'd be great.
He wasn't even stressing about it. There was no. He was like,
that's
up, down. It was like asking him if he would be down for it. Like he wasn't. I'd be down to come back. That'd be cool.
Unfortunately, LeBron he's not carrying anything anymore. If the Lakers have any chance, which they honestly should have a game or two right now, because they had the good games from Rui, they had the good games from Austin Reeves, which are like kind of the wild cards.
Yeah.
And the stars were the ones who didn't pull through. So I think at that point you're not going to get much more out of LeBron. It would take a D'Lo 45-point game for them to steal one, and then it's over.
This is the one thing I want to say real quick, which is really funny to me. You know how usually people go into series and they'll dictate like a series win based on like X factors. It's funny how Reeves and Rui are like the X factors and they're coming through, but then their superstars aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Right? So I mean, big ups to the X factors, but what about the superstars?
The question I have, because we don't honestly need to talk about the series that much, I'd like to look ahead, because I think we can agree this one's over. And if it isn't, hey, good for LA, but it's over. Is Denver the team to beat?
Yes, I think 110%. And here's why. I'll say why. It doesn't matter what Miami does. They could have swept every team. They would have still been the underdogs in any series they get put into, right? Like, we could agree on that. The only one where people were kind of siding with Miami were the Knicks. Not to, like, make a joke, but seriously, like, I'm pretty sure the Celtics still have the highest odds to win the series, right? And obviously Milwaukee did the whole way through. So I think that it's Denver's titles to lose, because if Miami wins, Miami's always going to be seen as an underdog, because that's just what the media does. And if Boston wins, people are going to be like, well, they had a hard time beating Miami. How are they going to beat this Denver squad, right? And I think we said from the start, like a couple months ago even, that whatever happens this season, the Larry O'Brien will be on a Western Conference team, right? Like, the West runs the NBA right now. It's not the East. And
I thought we said the East.
We said the East, didn't we?
Absolutely. With Boston,
Completely
Milwaukee. What are you talking about?
I made that point off of recency bias. I flipped the switch there because Milwaukee went out first round, and then the Celtics were kind of iffy in the first round. That was a recency bias take. What I meant to say was, right now, I'm saying that the Larry O'Brien's going to go to a Western Conference team, and that's going to be Denver. Denver, number one, Jamal Murray. Wow. Round of applause. I'm not going to clap in my mic because that's just going to hurt some of the ears of the listeners, but round of applause for Jamal Murray, because he is, after this postseason, he is cementing himself as a top 10 point guard in this league again. And
you got to rethink how many point guards there are in the league, though.
How many would you take over Jamal Murray?
There's not a lot, but there's a lot of good point guards in the league, bro.
I agree. That's why I didn't say top 5. Top 5 is a little crazy to say right now, and I know it's kind of a recency bias thing to say, but look, like when I watch Jamal Murray play, and I watch the way not only he hits his shots, but the way he creates his own shot, and not only creating his own shot, but his ability, like let's say a play's not working out, and his quick mind to just randomly set up some other teammate, whether it's KCP or Jeff Green, like he can just bail out and he has Hall of Fame bailout, by the way, right? Like we can agree on that. The amount of times he's double teamed, he just jumps in the air and somehow sees KCP in the corner and he throws some like ridiculous like tomahawk pass, and I'm just like, what? This guy's like a mini Jokic now, right? I'm putting Jamal Murray in my top 10 point guards. I'll say that right now. I don't think you can name me 10 point guards better than Jamal Murray. And I don't think the Heat or the Celtics can match up against Denver. I don't think, like,
I think the Heat can.
You know why I don't, though? Because let's this whole narrative where, Jokic has to play Anthony Davis now. And I want to say one more thing about Jokic, too.
I never said that.
No, not you. I'm saying the media. No, I'm not directing this at you. What was the big thing about this series is that Jokic is going to have to deal with AD, and that Jokic is going to have a hard time now because he's playing against a defensive center, and he's going to lock him down, and Jokic won't be as good. Jokic has been running circles around AD. And I'll say this about Jokic. I don't know if it was game 3 or game 2. Could have been game 3. Jokic has a very bad start, first 3 quarters, right? He was 4 for 14. Still ends the game. He scores he drops 15 in the fourth quarter. And you know why I bring this up? That's what separates Jokic and Embiid from me. Because Jokic is the type of player who, in a crucial situation where his team is down and they need to win, Jokic can get you a must-need win, right? Like that win basically solidified their finals run. And Jamal Murray drops 30 in the first half, doesn't really score in the second half, right? Third quarter, I don't think he scored in the third quarter, and he had a few shots in the fourth. Jokic turns up, though, after starting off terrible. And he showed why he's the real MVP of the league. And it's Denver's title to win or lose, 100%. 100%. I think whatever team goes against Denver, they're the underdog.
I agree in that they're the underdog because of how well Denver has played. But once again, we did this with another conversation we had where I think it was the ceilings and floors for each playoff team. And with Miami, I said their floor was really high because they were a 1 seed last year, right? Conference finals. And Pat Riley sits on his hands with the same roster. So this is where the Heat are supposed to be, by the way. I think we're giving Jimmy a little too much credit because the Heat are playing spectacular basketball.
Agreed.
It's reminiscent of the Dirk Nowitzki run of 2011, and this might come as a surprise because Dirk is praised for that run, maybe greatest run, finals run ever. But I think that Mavericks run is one of the greatest runs ever because Nowitzki himself has had great moments, just like Jimmy has had incredible moments, like that one game where he dropped 56 against Milwaukee. But the team as a whole is what carried them through the playoffs as a defensive unit. Jason Terry shot 60% from 3. The team was 40% as a team from 3 in the finals. So taking away guys like Lowry and Bam and Duncan Robinson and Kevin Love, even though they're not big names, I think is definitely it's doing them wrong. And while Jimmy is the topper and quite easily the best player, this is not a carry job. I really don't think it is at all.
I think he's had moments where he's carried Miami to a win.
Yes, just like Dirk.
I agree with you that he wouldn't be in that position without the Heat in general.
Yeah,
and if we were to create an all-NBA team of guys who can guard LeBron, JJ Barea is on the first team. JJ Barea is starting guard on that team because we all know we don't talk about JJ Barea locking up LeBron in 2011.
But if I want to get back to the why the Heat match up pretty well with the Nuggets.
Right
now, it's going to be different because Mike Malone is different than Mr. Mazzulla, but the Nuggets are very 3-point centric as well. Right, they'll run a lot of these dribble handoffs with MPJ where he doesn't take a blink before he shoots the ball off the Jokic handoff. Murray creates more, but a lot of it's 3-point creation. KCP is a primary 3-point shooter. Bruce Brown takes a lot of threes. A lot of guys just like to line up from 3. Miami has been great at running them off the line in Boston. So the Nuggets, I think, are more suited to adapt to that due to coaching. Jokic has a great post game. Murray's good in the mid range. KCP has hit 1 dribble pull-ups all series. MPJ can definitely disappear, I feel.
Yeah.
So with the intensity and like the fact that role player shots just might not be falling in general because it's the finals, I give Miami a really good shot because they're great at winning close games, and there's no way that Denver is just going to sprint away from them. I think it's going to be a lot of close games.
While you do bring up some great points, and I can see your side of it, at the same time, I'd like to address like a few things you said about Denver. Number one, a guy like Bruce Brown, while he does like to, pick and pop and take a lot of threes, he plays well in the paint. Not only does he play well in the paint, he can grab an offensive rebound when you need it, right?
And here's the thing. I talked about Bruce Brown before, saying who they played. The Nuggets played the was a series before this. I'm an idiot.
Oh, Suns.
The Suns. The Suns didn't have a Bruce Brown, right, on the bench, which I thought was the separator.
Yeah.
The Lakers don't have a Bruce Brown either, but the Heat got a bunch of Bruce Browns. Like, everyone's scrappy over there.
I agree. So, and while you are right about like Miami being able to run or take away Boston's perimeter game, I think you're also forgetting that Denver can still dominate in the paint, whether it's an Aaron Gordon cut, whether it's a Jamal Murray drive to the paint. We know MPJ can do some dirty work when it comes to driving, right? KCP,
I'm saying they got to figure that out because they can't play like Boston is.
I think they'll figure it out quick though. If Miami's holding them out and not letting them shoot as well as they do from the perimeter, because Denver has a lot of guys who can score at all three levels.
I do think MPJ is the wild card. Shout out MPJ. He had 6 assists last night.
I was going to say assist record. Career high in assists. Let's go, bro. He passed the rock today. He got I would give him like a B minus teammate grade today or yesterday.
But just the fact that I think Miami, they definitely have more players with finals experience. Jamal Murray has played out of his mind to this point. And while I'd love to say that we can rely on that, it hasn't been reliable all season. And you kind of got to look at it from a perspective of like, could this wear out on the biggest stage? And I think it's more of a closer to a 50-50 chance between, let's say if it is Miami and Denver, because Boston's a whole different story, than you're making it out to be. I don't think Denver's a huge front runner.
If I'm Denver and I got to choose who I see in the finals, I would choose Miami. And that's not a diss to Miami, but if I'm Denver, I would rather deal with Miami than deal with Boston. And that's my view on it, and that's why I think it's still I still think Denver wins whatever outcome we get from the East side. Number one, they're gonna have much more rest. I feel like this Miami and Boston series is about to get very gritty. I think Boston's gonna have some sort of spark club turn up, and they're just gonna start playing some great basketball. Denver, on the other hand, is about to sweep, and they're gonna get like an extra week off. I don't know. I think we see Jokic. I think we see a Jokic ring, and I think we finally put this Jokic versus Embiid debate to rest.
That would be because someone's getting a first-time ring, right?
Which is awesome to see.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be possibly watching a Miami-Denver finals, but here we are. The ratings are going to be horrible, but that is peak
why
basketball.
I love. No, but here's the thing. If you're a real basketball fan, that's all that matters. Do you think I care? Do you think I give two F's about the ratings of basketball? No, I just want to watch basketball that I enjoy watching. Like, here's the thing. Obviously the NBA cares and stuff, blah, blah, blah. But this is probably like the best moment for real NBA fans where they could actually watch some solid basketball, not some scripted Lakers versus Celtics 18th banner chase. Like, I do not want to see the Lakers and Celtics play in a series. I'll be honest. Love LeBron James, right? But I've already seen the Lakers. I've already seen LeBron too many times in my life, right? And I just saw the Celtics last year. So to know I get the Heat after the Heat went through whatever they went through this season, that's going to be an amazing Cinderella story. And then Denver and Jokic, because what's the one thing holding Jokic back from being
There's a lot
real
of
all-time
narratives
great?
coming together, which I'm very excited for.
Exactly. Like, no matter what happens, we're either going to see, number one, the new face of the league, Tatum, get his first ring, and he's going to start really taking over the league, and the league's going to start investing in him because they're not investing in John Morant anymore. Jimmy Butler pulling off the greatest, and the Miami Heat pulling off one of the greatest Cinderella stories as an 8 seed. First time we've ever seen an 8 seed win a ring. Or Jokic cementing himself as possibly, I think this ring might put him in top 3 all-time centers.
Top 3 all-time?
Bro, think about it. Think about Jokic. What's holding him back to being in that conversation? A championship, let's be real, right? But when you add the fact that he's gotten a ring and he's still young.
In that conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I haven't thought about it, but
I don't think it's crazy to think. I think the one thing that always makes me think is
Hakeem?
I think the one thing that always stops me from putting Jokic in that debate is a ring. And I think this ring will kickstart his legacy in terms of where we rank him as a center.
It really kickstarts it. But
really
it's
think
not
about.
like...
But I think I think it's not crazy for somebody to say if they bring up the debate, because if you're an analytic nerd, Jokic is there if he gets a ring.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right? Like, would you like if at the start of the season I said that's blasphemy? You wouldn't even listen to it. But if he gets this ring, and I'm not saying it yet, but if he does get this ring after going through the Suns and the Lakers, and they didn't have an easy run, right? If he gets this ring with what Jokic has done, right? Back-to-back MVPs, probably one of the best offensive players in general ever in terms of what he does on the court. Lacking a little bit defensively, sure, but I think he's underrated defensively because people just like to bring up that point when we bring up Embiid versus Jokic. And he gets a ring in Denver? He gets a ring with the team that drafted him, which is also a very, very big thing to look at, right? It's hard to win a ring with the team that home grew you. It's hard to win a homegrown ring. It is hard to win a homegrown ring, especially in Denver. Especially in Denver, right?
What do they got out in Denver, bro?
Literally.
A ski rental place?
No, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm not hating on any of these legends. I'm not hating on any of these legends when I say this, so please do not take this point bad. But I'm just saying, Shaq goes to the Lakers, teams up with Kobe. They build like a super legacy. He gets 3 rings.
Shaq is fraudulent.
Then teams up with D-Wade. He gets 4 rings. No, I'm not calling him a fraud. I'm just saying, like, I'm just going through these rings. Let's look at Hakeem. Michael Jordan retires for 2 years. In those 2 years, he wins 2 rings, and then Jordan comes back, and then Jordan wins the next 3, right? Kareem, he won one in Milwaukee with one of the biggest legends ever, Oscar Robinson, and then teamed up with Magic Johnson. Who did Jokic team up with? He has a Jamal Murray who had a torn ACL last year. And
that
that's
Hakeem point is nasty. Dude retired. That's like Giannis hurting himself and going out in round 1. He didn't have to play Giannis.
I said I'm not holding it against him. I'm
saying
not
that's
a
disgusting point against Hakeem to say his rings
saying.
Or have a taint on it.
No,
MJ retired.
There's not a ring in history that I'll say have a taint on it, except for maybe the Warriors rings. That's I'll never say there's a taint on a ring. I'm just saying, to me, no. My point is, to me, this Jokic ring might be the most impressive out of any of those rings in that pool, if he gets it. Homegrown, doesn't have an all-star behind him. He's never played with an all-star, by the way. Let's think about that. In this era, Jokic has never played with an all-star.
Jamal Murray's playing like an all-star
right now. Okay, but I'm just saying. Look at the position, and it doesn't matter if he has.
Nasty.
Okay, even if you want to call Jamal Murray an all-star, okay, one all-star, right? It might be the most impressive ring. That's not a crazy thing to say. Out of all those players, when you really think about it and look at the rosters and look at the situations, Jokic's ring, if he wins it, might be the most impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
That's not crazy to say. That's not crazy to say.
Hey, I'm not knocking it until he's got to put up like a 28-point triple-double in the finals. Like, we got to see that. He's got to hoist the 2 trophies with the finals
MVP. If I look at what he's done this playoff series, I'm going to assume he's going to do that. That's all I'm saying. He has the most triple-doubles in a playoff run in history this year as a center, right?
I'll see it when I believe it.
You know what? You're right.
I'll believe it when I see it.
This is a big hypothetical, by the way. This is if he wins. I'm not defending him yet. If he wins the ring and he does what he does, I don't think it's crazy to say that Jokic's ring would be the most impressive out of any center I've seen.
You know what would be a crazy episode? If we rank the validity of NBA championship
We should,
rings.
no. Oh my God, we need to do that. We are doing that. That's an episode idea.
Oh my gosh.
We have a lot of crazy episode ideas when the season ends, by the way. We're going to keep the NBA fresh during the month of July.
Yeah, well,
I don't think anybody does
one
that.
stocked up for when there's no action.
Yeah, no. It's playoffs and finals until they're over. But I know you have one more topic that I'm very happy. I really want to discuss left in the episode.
So Russell Westbrook was traded from what?
Oh,
bringing up the topic. Is this not the topic?
No, it is. But the way you started it, never.
Russell Westbrook was traded from the Los Angeles Lakers in the middle of the season. In return, they bring home D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt. They get Rui Hachimura. They added Mo Bamba, did they?
Yeah, he apparently supposed to be back for Game 4.
What does that mean? He
was out this whole series. He hasn't played this series.
But he hasn't played in general.
Yeah, because he messed up his ankle. He played the first 3 games.
Lakers in 7 then.
Yeah.
But D'Angelo Russell has been pathetic in the postseason. You could say Austin Reeves has been better and honestly might be a better player. I'm starting to come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
So was the Russell Westbrook trade a mistake for the Los Angeles Lakers? Sainey take.
I'll say this. The topics you sent me was not that question. It was if LeBron can still be a first option on a team.
Well, you texted me saying you wanted to do that topic.
I wanted to bring it in at the end after, but that's fine. We'll replace it.
When you got so excited, I thought I was like, oh, he has to talk about Russ.
I wanted to talk about LeBron, but I am more excited to talk about Russ, and I thank you. I saw the episode was winding down. I didn't think we'd get to it. So I thank you for giving me this spotlight here.
Do it now.
I'll say this about the Westbrook trade. Yes, Westbrook did not fit on that team right. I agree. And yes, Russ probably wouldn't have been much better for this Lakers squad. I agree, right? But at the same time, D'Angelo Russell was not the freaking answer. Number one, Jared Vanderbilt doesn't even get that many minutes anymore. They don't even include him in that rotation as much as they did when he first signed with them, right? Malik Beasley hasn't seen the court this whole run. I have not seen Malik Beasley on the court unless it's a blowout. He's out the rotation. D'Angelo Russell has a plus minus of like negative 50 plus. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's over negative 50 in total, which is horrendous. And I don't know if you saw this, and it's a play that comes to mind. Austin Reeves kicks it to D'Lo in the corner. D'Lo bricks. Austin Reeves grabs an offensive rebound, passes it back to D'Lo. D'Lo bricks.
That's exactly what popped into my mind.
That's how I would sum up D'Angelo Russell's playoff run. And the best part is, after he misses both, he looks at Austin Reeves like points at it, you know what I mean? Like, good pass, bro, good pass. But it's like, to me, I would have much rather, if I'm the Lakers, traded Westbrook, and this was an offer on the table, so don't say they couldn't have. I would have taken Mike Conley. I would have much rathered Mike Conley, and the Lakers would have been in a much better position if they did not sign D'Angelo Russell. Yes, he's had these 30-point games here and there, but so did Russ. So did Russ. And the reason the Lakers loved it is because it was new, and they wanted some sort of scapegoat for Russell Westbrook. But now D'Angelo Russell is playing like the D'Angelo Russell we all knew back in Minnesota, while Russell Westbrook almost led the Clippers out the first round without Kawhi and Paul George. There was no reason why that Clipper squad should have been neck and neck with that Suns team. But Westbrook goes off in the playoffs, and I love to see it. It's so satisfying. You know what I mean? It's so sad. Don't look at me like that. It's so satisfying to watch.
No, I wish I could feel that way about Julius Randle. We're going to have to wait another year.
But again, I think the Lakers messed up with that trade. I don't think they won that. Like, they're like, oh, we got all these pieces. Roy Hachimura didn't come from that trade, right? He came from a separate trade. Mo Bamba didn't get from that trade. They got D'Lo, Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley. And I would say Vanderbilt's the biggest piece of that, but you basically traded Russ for another Westbrook, a guy who doesn't play, sits on the bench, and Vanderbilt, who barely gets minutes anymore, right? So 100% the Lakers messed up with the Westbrook trade. They could have, the fact that Mike Conley, I don't know what other offers were on the table, but the fact that it was guaranteed that Mike Conley was on the table, and it was a three-way team trade with the Jazz, if you remember correctly, it was a three-way deal. It was Westbrook to the Jazz, Conley to the Timberwolves, Russell to the Lakers, right? Conley was in that mix. They ended up putting Conley in there anyway because they wanted to dump off his salary. You could have had Mike Conley, and I would have much rathered Mike Conley. I think Mike Conley would have worked way better for the Lakers.
Mike Conley doesn't miss 2 threes in a row. That dude is a dog.
Open threes, too.
I agree. They didn't need another, quote-unquote, like this hezzy tween shot creator type guy, and he's not even being used as such. It's weird when you have someone who's like a high-usage player, which D'Angelo Russell was in Brooklyn, and you transform him into this kind of like moderator point guard where he picks and chooses his spots, which when you're someone like that, you're supposed to have the play style of Mike Conley. Make timely cuts, hit timely open threes, can create if you need to, but you don't need to go into this deep bag every time you get the rock to kind of gain some momentum. And there's never time for D'Lo to gain momentum. Sometimes it works, like that one first quarter where he started off the game with like 9 straight points, something like that. Like D'Lo still has those capabilities, but he's not good enough anymore to the point where you can like have that as the main option for your team. And he's not as good as taking that back seat.
Yep.
As someone like Mike Conley, because Conley does the little things better. So they would have been better off with him.
Mike Conley's like D'Lo's entering those years where he is a quote unquote established vet, but he's not.
He's got to figure himself out. Yeah.
He's not one of those guys yet. I feel like Mike Conley is 100% an established vet, and he understands how to embrace a role. And I'll stress this again: to win a championship in the NBA, You need to have a roster full of dudes who are willing to embrace their role. LeBron James, yes, the greatest player of all time, and he has hit some crazy three-pointers, but he shoots a little too much to the Lakers' liking in that Denver series. And there's a lot of times where, great example, game 1, 40 seconds left on the clock, and he just chucks that FU3. What was that about? Right? I get it's LeBron James, and it's the greatest player of all time, like, supposed, like, he's either one or two. I understand that, and LeBron has earned that, but at the same time, it's the playoffs. It doesn't matter what narrative you have around you. It doesn't matter who you are. You have to find the best shot, and that was not the best shot for the Lakers. And there's a lot of times where he's taking shots that are not the best shots for the Lakers. And teams need to know how to embrace their role. Players need to know how to embrace their role.
What's so upsetting for me, the topic that Sainey was alluding to before is, I said, where would LeBron, or what does LeBron contribute to on a championship team? Like, if he was on a team where, they won a title, what is the highest role that he can contribute in? I don't know if it's a second option at this point. He's just old. What's so upsetting for me is that he has this all-time great rim pressure. This is what made LeBron James LeBron James. The dude can dunk on anyone. He is 6'8", 250, is even faster than guards, let alone big men. And he's an excellent passer. Now, he added the jump shot in his game. We saw a little bit in Miami. It was refined in 2018. But it was never something that he relied upon, and it wasn't what made him great. It's what elevated his greatness, but the supernatural abilities of LeBron James, where he was called the chosen one, was never predicated on his jump shot. So here we are in 2023. Dude's 38 years old. I understand that he's tired. He's playing in Denver, and he's playing with a superstar who can't carry his own weight sometimes. So he feels like he needs to take on the weight of the world and bring this team a championship. Now, I don't know if it would cause him injury, but I would rather him collapse from being tired after attacking the rim, because he can still do it every now and again, but you can always settle for the three. It's always there. And he takes him in the most crucial moments when the better play, the great play that we've seen in LeBron James all these 20 years, is when you drive to the basket, get on the free throw line, lay it up over two people, swing it out. It's not this, one-on-one, just the FU3.
Spin the ball.
What is this? What is this?
Spin the ball.
It's really upsetting because I thought I was going to be in for, another LeBron James finals appearance, and I don't think he has that in him anymore. I think, for someone who is supposed to be one of the smartest basketball players of all time, he's losing IQ, which you don't expect to happen.
To LeBron's credit and to LeBron's side, everything he does from now on, or from 2020, everything he has done since he's won that Lakers ring has just been a cherry on top to his goal.
But I'm looking at this objectively, as in this is a Lakers organization who wants to win a championship. This is what's going wrong.
And the reason I bring that up is because I don't want this to seem like we're LeBron haters and we're like, oh, he can't do it again. He could literally have not even made the playoffs, and I'll still be like, bro is still my GOAT, because what has he done before that, right? Like, I still have LeBron James top 2, maybe top 1. That's still a decision I haven't come to yet. I need to watch him retire first, let it settle. You know what I mean? But again, to your point, Hoop, you don't know if you can be a second option. I have to agree with you there. And for a bit, I was like, what? It's LeBron. He has to be a second option. And a lot of these LeBron lovers, they're going to be really mad when we say this, because it's a denial thing. They're in denial because, their great king is no longer able to stay on that level. There is a real conversation if LeBron James is still a top 15 player in the league. That is a real conversation. The reason I say that, it's not the talent that makes me think he's not top 15 talent-wise. LeBron James, obviously, he can be up there. But there are moments, for example, in that Denver game where he barely twisted his ankles, a little bit of a tweak, and it took him so long to get up and so long to get down the court. Denver was playing 5v4 in that possession, and LeBron James was completely fine when they came back on the offensive end. To me, it's like he realizes he needs to conserve his energy and just wait for the next offensive possession, because he knows he's fine, but he just does not have the will to get back on court, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to pin that on him. Dude rolled his ankle.
But it's not. There's moments like that. You know what I mean?
Where there's moments where
no
he'll
urgency
walk
with
back
him
on
anymore.
Defense.
Yeah,
yes,
like
that's
what I mean. That's
urgency.
just an example. That's just an example, because to me,
that
it was
a
like,
lame
okay,
example, but yes, yeah.
But like he was completely fine. He didn't even look at his ankle after. But you know what I mean? It was barely a tweak.
Oh,
it was barely a tweak. It was barely okay. Fine. But still, he's walking back on defense. There's no urgency.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And
it's like Michael Porter Jr. is like hitting shots over these guys, hitting shots over LeBron, and it's just like. And for example, LeBron James, it's a playoff game. Jamal Murray hits a great shot, and LeBron does this to him. Bro, that's your enemy. Like, you're supposed to be going at him. And I get it's like all about being friendly, ha ha ha. But it's the conference finals. Where is the dog? And you might be mad for me bringing that up. I don't care. Why are you smiling at your opponent and being like, hey, you hit a good shot on me, pal? What? It's the playoffs. Where's the dog?
If I was
Where's
AD,
the dog?
I don't care, how much it would cost me, how famous this guy is, how amazing he is as a basketball player. I'd slap him across the face. I'll be like, you're ruining my legacy. And Anthony Davis just doesn't have it. He's just letting LeBron do whatever he wants.
What is it like? Listen, no hate to LeBron. I'm not slapping LeBron in the face. That's Hoop thing. Okay, that's not me.
That's Anthony Davis thing. He should, bro. Am I wrong?
No, but so you're agreeing with me when I say why are you doing this type of stuff?
Exactly.
He's making it like buddy, but it's as if he knows it's like, okay, we're gonna lose this series. Why not just keep my name in the media?
I'm saying this is Anthony Davis. You don't know. A lot of bigs break down after 30. I'm making a Yao Ming video right after this pod, and he didn't play a game after age 30, 31.
Yeah.
And Anthony Davis is on that. Bigs do it without these extensive injury problems, and Anthony Davis does have.
Yeah.
So you don't know. This could be his last year of actually being pretty healthy in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And being great and being a great defensive player. I mean, it's one thing to say that he's not carrying his load offensively every night, which you could definitely say, but it's just there's no drive. I think they got the ring. It's like, all right, we did it. Let's go home.
Yeah, and we should probably wrap up the episode because we're running a little late on time. But at the same time, that's why I would agree with Hoop on his point of why I don't think LeBron can be a second option on a championship team, because he's a second option right now. And when you're giving props to the opposition after they hit an amazing shot on you, a shot that he shouldn't have hit, it's like at that point you don't care about the game. This is a pickup game at the YMCA. This is that's the energy that he's giving it.
He's dapping up the ops.
Yeah,
that's a no-go. That's a no-go.
But this was a great episode. It was I think Hoop, this duo chemistry, I'm loving it. And I think we're in store for a lot of great episodes in the future. This was episode 74. 75 is coming.
3/4 way to 100.
3/4 way until the LeBron James guest, hopefully. But if it's not LeBron, we'll just get a guy in a LeBron mask and say it's episode 100 LeBron. Or do an AI episode where we just get LeBron AI. But anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys in episode 75. Peace.